Hello, hello. Welcome,
Hello.
everyone. Another week with Mayo Agency podcast here with Philip. Once again, it's Giovanni Rodriguez here. And Philip, go ahead, Philip, do a quick introduction and also introduce our special guest today.
Awesome. Thank you, Gio. I am Filip Zolota, the owner of growth marketing agency Maoyo. And today we have an amazing guest, my dear friend, a business partner from company Nestec. Siniša, please give us a short introduction about yourself and the company.
Most definitely. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here with you. So, quick intro. We are a value add distributor focused on, let's say, security and MSP solutions. We work with resellers, IT resellers, system integrators, IT service providers. We are basically a team of, let's say, 7-8 people, technically divided in two teams because we cover a wider region, both DACH region and Adriatic region, and we also have offices in two locations. But to put it, let's say, some kind of, in a simple words, what we do is, I would say that together with global vendors, we provide solutions, services for local IT experts to help them grow, expand, and build their business.
Awesome.
Nice. I love it. So yeah, so you already sort of defined for us, right? Like what a MSP is, right? Which is a managed services provider, right?
Exactly.
And so that's great. So let's start off with what does a typical day in the life of a MSP look like, right? Because I know for every business person, the days sometimes look different. A lot of times it's dynamic, right? Where it's constantly different challenges popping up daily. But in your particular case, what does a typical day in the life of an MSP look like, and what are the challenges? Some of the challenges you face.
Well, when talking about managed service providers, especially, in regards to the region where we are located, it's a little bit, I would say, different story than to our, Western markets, because our market is always, a little bit behind, catching up with all those trends coming, whether it's from DACH region, Nordics, or even, from US markets. So the challenges that we are seeing now with at least the partners that we are working with is there is still a period of transition. So and a period of actually, getting your head around the MSP model itself. What actually it is, what does it mean for a company to offer MSP services. We see a lot of companies actually presenting themselves as a managed service provider, but technically, when you do a deep dive, you really see that it's not an MSP model, but maybe a model that's something in between, MSP and standard break fix services and so on. So I would say that the challenges that we see at the moment in our respective markets is basically getting idea, what an MSP model is, how to really apply it to your business successfully, because as we have seen, in the past, there are really so many pitfalls along the way that you can, stumble upon. And one of the, let's say, most common ones is, we have companies that are, IT resellers, or let's say IT service providers that, decide one day, hey, let's just, switch to an MSP model because we heard that this is a really, reliable and, let's say, more valuable model to be in. But they're trying to, go with the same mindset that they're having at the moment to completely new business model. When I'm speaking about mindset, what I mean is like people are used to selling products. People are used to selling features. So, hey, please, here's a server. It has this amount of RAM, CPU. It's easy to understand. But when we go down to the MSP model, when we start thinking about products, concepts, and services, what you are selling is really outcomes and predictability. And sometimes I see a lot of companies having a struggle on how to make these transitions, because it's not as straightforward as you might initially think.
Interesting that when you said that last part about outcomes and predictability, and that's what you're saying an MSP is actually doing. They're helping you understand what the outcomes are going to be and the probabilities of those outcomes, right? That's interesting, because that sort of reminds me of a topic me and Philip have talked about in terms of consultants, right? Where the consultant should be focused on the results, delivering results. It's not about the actual coaching per se or the methods. It's the actual fact that it doesn't matter what the method is, right? It doesn't matter that part. What it matters as long as it gets results. Because even if it's a great method, if it doesn't give you the results the client's looking for, then did it matter, right? It doesn't matter unless you get the results and you basically over deliver on what you said you were going to get. So I think it's very similar, right?
Exactly. I mean, a lot of current IT service providers, or let's say resellers that are really transitioning to MSP model, they are really approaching their clients with they're productivizing. I'm not sure if it is really correct word.
Productization of the services, right?
Yeah, but what they are doing is like they are coming to a client and saying, "Hey, listen, I have a really cool new product for you. It's a remote monitoring agent." And then the customer is like, "Okay, what am I supposed to do with this?" Well, it helps you, do this and that, and then the customer says, "Yeah, okay, but I'm paying you for this. Why do I need?" It seems to me that this is something that you need, not necessarily me. So you really get yourself into hard situation, and most of the time it seems to IT resellers and service providers that this is not the model what we can really sell. Technically it is, but you have to take a different approach. And as Gio, as you mentioned, it's about the results, it's about outcomes. So you would go to a company, and of course these outcomes and results are always different for every client. They're not necessarily the same. So you have to really do your homework and see what kind of pain points a specific client has. Your product, specifically your product, your, let's say, technology stack will be the same, but you will promise a different outcome for each client. And yeah, I mean, this is where we see a lot of problems, and a lot of times we even have resellers or partners contacting us and saying, "Hey, we see that you have a really cool MSP product in your portfolio. Can you please tell us, we have a customer we want to sell the product to?" And then, it's like, no, that's not the way it goes. You're not supposed to sell the product. You're supposed to take it, build your own services, and then sell your services to them. So it's it's interesting, topic and journey to go through with each customer. But what is, with each partner. But what is specific is what we see with each journey, with each partner, the pitfalls, the questions, the how to say, challenges are the same, basically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's practically repeatable and quite simple. Especially we are talking about big paradigm shift, because one thing is a fact: the productization per se, it is not niche specific. No matter, as Gio mentioned, this is business coaching and consulting, this is marketing agency, MSP provider, IT companies, development, whatever. The service productization is challenge on its own, which you need to resolve and focus on tangible outcomes and results, and communicate those values and combine it with additional value set which you'll be presenting. So you don't get into the stage, as you mentioned, a good case where client says, "Okay, but you're already doing it. Why you are now providing me
Exactly.
other type and level of service because it's the same.
I'm already paying you to do this, so it's like, what's with this new thing? I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, that's a common, problem. And what we also, see is, when you go through this transition, there are really, some things that initially maybe, IT resellers or service providers are, how to say, having maybe a little bit, what would be the proper term? A wrong idea, or let's say also, because a lot of IT resellers and service providers are going to an MSP model with idea, okay, this is great because we will be able now to provide cheaper service for our existing partners. It's like, no, that's like managed services as a model, as a concept. It will bring a lot more value to your, customer, but most, I would say 90% or even more times or cases, it will not be cheaper. It can't be cheaper, and that's why when you focus on features and products, you fail because you can't really achieve that goal. It's in the value, it's in the results, it's in the outcomes.
Yeah,
Nice.
that is quite often seen. I'll do the comparison in terms of hardware infrastructure, simply because my background by default, you both know, is from IT. It's like selling sometimes the bare metal and complete turnkey solution. It's uncomparable because in a managed service, you have, as mentioned previously, complete turnkey solution. So you don't need to take care of anything. It is being done for you. So it's a no-brainer for respectable client and customers, so they can completely focus on their business. And that is the idea, because long-term primary focus on doing in segments in which you are the best, that is the point. Not wasting time on things in which you are not proficient, you don't understand them, you don't know anything about it, but you're trying to mix up and create some kind of semi-solution. Quite often that goes down the rabbit hole, and you have more problems than challenges you kind of resolve.
Exactly. I mean, during this transition, you have to decide for yourself, how am I going to do the transition? Because normally what IT service providers do is like they say, okay, listen, I have my partner base, I grown my business to a certain extent, and for sure I want to keep it. I don't want to lose my existing business. What I want actually is build and expand my business. But it's quite often the case that your existing partners that you are providing your current, let's say, break-fix services to are not necessarily a good fit for MSP services. And then, it's like you have to really decide, because you can either go both ways, say, okay, listen, and that's completely fine if you have enough of manpower and resources. You can say, okay, listen, for my current clients, I will create, some kind of packages that will, satisfy their, price range and, the needs that they have. And then for all my new clients, I will only provide MSP services, and these will be the different packages. But then you have to think about that internally, what kind of impact that has on your productivity. Exactly. Let's say, your tech support team, whenever a ticket comes, it's like, okay, is this new? Is this, old client? What kind of package are we offering? What kind of service? What is included? And this can have a really big impact on your, productivity. And as we know, with MSP model, the more you can automate, the more you can, how to say, automate will be the proper
and systemize the approach and workflow.
Systemize, exactly, the better, and the more successful you will be. Because, if you just compare business models, I think it's also, really good to say, why managed services, why, as opposed to standard services. The business model itself is, as I said, valuable and reliable, because it makes it pretty easy for you to know what will your revenue be for the next 12, 24, and 36 months, depending on how long are you, having your contracts. So you can, put your finger on a number and say, hey, in this year, I will have exactly this amount of revenue. And also, I'm not sure if this is really so, how to say, important in our regions. I think maybe, for our US-based colleagues, they are more focused on this type of, business evaluation. So there is, they say that, for example, if you are doing standard, reselling, or let's say standard break fix services, the valuation of your business, of your company, is around 0.5 of your yearly revenue. And when you're doing an MSP model, and depending on the maturity of the model that you're applying, the business evaluation of your company is, 1.5, 2, or even 3 times your yearly revenue. So I think this is also important, factor to mention when you're talking about, different business models and why MSP as opposed to, standard
Very
reseller.
interesting.
Or yeah.
No, very interesting, Siniša. Thanks for those insights, because I think, like you said, it's a matter of understanding your client, and I think it's a matter of understanding your market segment, right? And where you want to go. Like if you add on an MSP, not thinking that it's gonna be a way to save you money, I think you have to think of it in reverse. If it's adding more value, it's giving you an opportunity to most likely adjust your pricing because of that increase in value. But you have to see, right, the market segment, your specific type of client. Interesting. The next thing I wanted to talk about was based on, you mentioned it a bit before that, on the relationship. So how do you approach building and maintaining, right, strong relationships with your clients?
Well, basically, I think, we, how to say this properly, we keep it simple, meaning, the first thing that we, check or, assess when we approach new clients is, can we bring value to this customer, to this partner, to this client? Are we bringing something? Are we helping them or not? If yes, okay, let's see what is this value. How can we, work together and, help each other? If not, well, then, maybe we're not the best fit. But what we would usually do is, just talk to this new potential partner, see what are their, plans, what are their needs, what are their requirements, and see if we can, help them, as I say, these main goals, can we help them expand, grow, and improve their business?
Nice. So yeah, I think keeping it simple is effective, right? You don't want to overcomplicate it. I think, like you said, looking for that alignment, right? Do we align in certain areas? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not only in alignment. Yes, it is. This is really important. As thank you for mentioning this. This is really important in company's culture. How do we align together? Are we really on the same level? Are we how to say, resonating and so on? But also what we do is we basically the services, or let's say the SaaS solutions, the platforms that we are having have specific features. They include specific functions and so on. So it is really important for us to analyze every opportunity and see, does this really work for this partner or this specific, customer? And we are here really, it doesn't make sense for us, to offer or sell something if we know that this will only partially help the partner, because this can only backfire, in 2-3 months when, the business is starting to grow and, this customer or partner features out that maybe this is not the best thing for them, and then we don't feel really good about ourselves. So this is really important, right from the start, to see, hey, is this a really good fit? not, if it's not, we keep it open, we keep it simple. We say, hey, maybe this is not the right product for you. We are happy to recommend other platforms, vendors, whatever it is. But yeah, it's important that regardless of the future of our together journey, that we leave a good imprint on this specific
I agree.
part.
I think it goes back to one of the basic, a very important principle in business: integrity.
Exactly.
Right. It comes back to integrity, which is very big in business, right? Because it's integrity is what is based your reputation, right? Your reputation is based on how integral you are. So I think what you're talking about directly is related to integrity, like having that your team understands that that's important. I think that's crucial, so that everybody makes the right decisions and understands that first we want to have high integrity when we deal with the client. So if we know that this is not the right solution, like you stated, we are not gonna go just because it gives us money. That's not who we are, and I think that's good that you mentioned that. What do you think, Philip?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on, because I personally know Siniša and how he operates. The crazy amount of value in terms of help and support and education Siniša and his company provides to his clients and customers, and that's it. It's a constant it's symbiosis and growth of entire ecosystem. Not only your business, but you're helping and supporting all businesses around yourself, and that is having an adequate and a healthy ecosystem, and you grow together. It's not the point in selling somebody for the sake of selling somebody.
Exactly.
The point is to have a two-way communication, two-way help and support, friendship, partnership, and that is the only way you can actually grow, because you cannot. Nobody can do it on its own. It is always around symbiosis, ecosystem, personal, professional, integrity, trustworthy relationships, and that's it. That is the key for, in the end, business success, especially when we are looking at the perspective of long term, because all of us, we are involved heavily inside our businesses.
Exactly. Long-term strategic partnerships, that's our goal. And I think the important part of this is telling the ugly truth about every aspect of business. And MSP as a business model has also ugly truths that everyone who is going down that line needs to know. So we always share this openly with all of our prospects and partners, and we know that some of them might get discouraged by this, but I think it's fair and pretty valuable from us to share bad experiences that whether we or our partners had down the line. So especially, for example, sometimes it feels like maybe we are crushing partners' dreams, because they have their dream, they will grow their business, it will be amazing. Yes, sure, but it doesn't work exactly like this. So we are now I'm coming back to the story that we mentioned at the beginning with transitioning your clients from standard model to an MSP model. The ugly truth is that you will, in the best case scenario, maybe be able to transfer 30% of them, maybe 40, but you will not be able to transfer all of them. So you will lose for sure 50% of your partners, and you will have to go and search for a new one. So that's, let's say, one of the ugly truths. Second one is like with the pricing. Hey, we will just go low. We will make our packages cheaper, yes, fine, but that's not the proper way to go. You have to don't be afraid to invoice your services and your value. Don't be afraid of this. Create your packages, put the pricing. There is some kind of, let's say, a general recommendation that, for example, when you create a service or a package, you take the cost of your technology stack of the solutions that you're using, and this should be basically 15% of the cost of your service. So, of course, depending on different packages, what they include, but it should be 15%. So if, let's say, cost of your technology stack is €2, your service should be priced around €14, whether it's a per user or per device. And we had really, interesting experience with this. I will, never forget when we were, signing up one of our long-term partners from Slovenia. We had a meeting with them and with several colleagues from vendor side, and on the vendor side we had one really amazing person. He is a founder of Hound Dog Technologies. Hound Dog Technologies is one of, let's say, one of first platforms on the market that was, RMM tool. I think it goes back 20 or even more years back. It's and then he was on this meeting, and when we were talking about packaging, pricing, and so of course one of the most important questions for this specific partner was, hey, how much should we invoice our services? That's like one of the main questions always, how much should we invoice this? And then he said, and keep in mind that was 6-7 years ago, he said, hey, listen, you should charge for each server, I don't know, 50 or €100. They were like, you're completely insane, there's no chance. It's like, and he said, yes, you should, and that's the standard, in Western countries. Okay, you can maybe a little bit adjust it. And the room went silent. And from the partner side, it was a full team of 10 people, CEO, CTO, tech department leaders. It went silent, and it was silent for a few seconds. And then the CEO of the company said, okay, well, guys, thank you. I thought personally at that point that he will say, okay, guys, thank you, see you, maybe next time, But, he had really interesting reaction. He said, okay, let's, guys, well, thank you for this, insight. I think we have to, regroup and rethink our business strategy, because obviously we're doing something wrong. And going back forward, at the moment, this is one of our biggest MSPs in the region. So they really, took this seriously, and they built a successful MSP model now, 5-6 years, and ongoing.
Nice. Wow. That's great. And I mean, that's some great insights. You gave a couple of great insights even on determining like pricing and in business models, which, like you said, is a big question for a lot of people. So I think for people in that sector, is going to be a lot of value in what you just said. To conclude the conversation, I want to conclude it on this point. Let's talk about, how do you think MSPs will change in the next 5 years, and how your company is preparing for those changes. So let's finish the conversation on this. Let's finish the conversation looking towards the future. How do you see MSPs, maybe some potential changes, and how are you preparing for these changes? And then we can close up the conversation.
Well, that's what we would call a Pandora box, because it's really, there's a lot of challenges, whether they're coming from technology perspective, whether they're coming from staffing perspective, because it's hard to pinpoint what will be the biggest challenge. But what I see at the moment, some of the challenges most definitely that we'll have is experts. So personnel that can really work as an IT expert and provide the services that your company will be providing in the future. So that's number one. On the other hand, as we see in our market, there is a really big lack of the experts in IT, meaning even IT companies having trouble with this, meaning the end users, the companies that will want to have their internal IT staff will have even more problems by finding their own IT personnel, because it will be extremely expensive and hard to find, which in a way is a great opportunity for managed service providers to jump in, because most of these companies will outsource the services. Technology is changing rapidly. We have so much challenges, not only from security perspective, but also from let's say monitoring and management perspective, because we have so much of IoT devices, different softwares, platforms, cloud. We see a big problem with also the change that we had during the COVID, working from home. So what we are actually doing is we are constantly looking forward and trying to predict what challenges are up ahead, and we are trying to find vendors and technologies that can help our partner base to tackle these challenges. If I manage to answer the question properly.
The answer is great, because it's a living tissue. We cannot
exactly
what will be happening, because the technology, as you mentioned, which is a great point, it's constantly growing, expanding, and changing practically on a daily basis. So
exactly,
and you need to be ready, prepared, with the solution, with the options and the infrastructure to give the answer to the requirements of the market. So the dynamic is strong, and it will be even faster, stronger, and more challenging in the future, for sure.
Exactly. And as I said, it's important to understand that it's not only about the technology; it's about the staffing and all these other challenges. Artificial intelligence. Whether it presents some kind of threat from outside of the company. Whether you have an employee who wants to play around with the system and can go easily to artificial intelligence and ask, hey, how can I mess up the company's firewall without anybody discovering me? Or I'm throwing some kind of silly examples, but yeah, there's a lot of challenges that are ahead of us, definitely.
No, but it's good to hear that, because like you said, I know as entrepreneurs, I asked that because we as entrepreneurs, we always have in our mind, like, what are the things that are going to get in the way? What are some of the roadblocks, right? We try to stay a few steps ahead. So we're thinking about some of those challenges, but I thank you for those answers you gave on what you think are some of the more short term, right? Because like you said, in the technology sector, it's getting harder and harder as that technological curve starts to increase more, right? Where technology becomes a lot more advanced, a lot more quicker, and then the cost lower a lot more quicker as well. So it becomes very interesting. So I was a great conversation, Siniša. Thank you for being with us today on this podcast episode. It was a great conversation. I know a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from the different insights. This was interesting because it's a bit more deep dive into the more technical aspect, but I think it's still going to be a very interesting conversation that people can get value from. So always a pleasure to have guests on, and it was great to have you today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
And before we go, Siniša, where people can find you?
Yes.
Well, easily, we can, we have our website, Nestec HR. You can go to our website. You can, there is instruction. You can reach us, whether, directly from the website, via phone, via, email. And we have our offices, in Zagreb. At least this is the office for Adriatic region in Almeria Business Center. So if anybody's nearby, just stop by. Let's have a coffee. We are always open.
Awesome. Thank you, Siniša. It was a lovely conversation, and I'm totally looking forward to the next one, because I have several additional topics in which we can go and dig deeper, completely go down the rabbit hole.
Definitely. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for taking the time. Yeah, awesome.
As well. Have a great day.
Have a great day, Siniša. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.